Hello and welcome to the video. In my previous video, I talked about how this video was going to be an unlisted video and was going to come out in about 1 or 2 days, but things happen and naturally it took longer as well. I figured why make it unlisted? There's no real point in it, so I decided it might as well be a public video. I had a ton of ideas for different Lego sets, and basically my idea here was just all these ideas, they could inspire people to do things or otherwise just be me getting my ideas out and not annoying my friends by ranting about my various silly Lego ideas. Originally this video ended up being 90 minutes long, and then I realized maybe I needed to cut back a little, so I reduced it down to top 10, and I felt as though that was not enough sets because of course I didn't, so I decided to increase the number to 15. Now there's going to be chapters in this video so that you can skip to parts that you want to see. The first part is of course going to be the top 15, then I'm going to talk about other stuff related to Lego and Lego ideas. And of course, even though this video is just me ranting about this sort of thing, it's not just about my ideas. I'd really like to encourage people to comment telling me the stuff that they would like to see Lego make in the future. And even though this is basically a huge cope, I think it would be fun. I think it's great to get those kinds of ideas out there, and yeah, I'd love to see it. So with all that being said, now the first idea that we're going to talk about is number 15, and that is easily going to be the smallest set that would appear on this list, and that is called Metropolis Meltdown. The idea behind this set is Atomic Skull, who is a really cool looking Superman villain, just like a radioactive skull man who drains people of their life force. He's going on a little rampage in Metropolis. So naturally Superman has to stop him, and of course this set would be quite small. I imagine like $20 to $30, and it would come with just Atomic Skull and Superman, preferably in that $20 range. And the actual build itself would be quite modest. I imagine like a newspaper dispenser and a small like city scale taxi. Maybe the dispenser can flip out, like break off or something, and the taxi would probably have some damage from Atomic Skull, like maybe some neon green pieces to show that he's damaged it. There's not much else to say, but I wanted to include at least one smaller set in this list, and this was the one that I chose. I think that Atomic Skull especially would be a big selling point for this set, just because he looks really cool, even to people who don't know DC superheroes. And honestly, I believe in this set concept so much that I'm going to dedicate a whole chapter in this video later on to more sets like this. But for now, that's all I have to say about this set. And number 14 is going to be called the Tower of Fate Defense, and the idea here is this set would come in at around $40 to $50. I'm thinking something similar to the like Marvel Doctor Strange Sanctum Sanctorum set, but this would be based off of Dr. Fate and the Tower of Fate. So something similar to Dr. Fate's office, and we'd see maybe a place for him to put his helmet when he's not using it, as well as a grandfather clock and a desk. And of course, Clarion would be the villain who is attacking Dr. Fate, and Clarion would have his cat Teakle with him. But this set, at the price point I'm expecting, I wouldn't be happy if it just came with 2 figures. I think 3 figures is the bare minimum, but 4 figures is far more justified at $50. So the other characters I would throw in are Zatanna and Deadman. I know that the Sanctum set itself originally came with 3 figures. I think due to inflation, for a similar piece count, it's going to be more expensive. Due to people kind of viewing their money to the value that they originally earned it at and not so much the value that it currently has, it's hard for people to justify buying a $50 set with only 3 figures in it, in my opinion. Throwing in a 4th figure at the cost of some pieces is a more reasonable business practice to drive home more sales. Also, I thought about Etrigan, but Etrigan, he kind of mainly deserves a big fig, and this set of this price point really can't justify a big fig.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
So number 13, and speaking of big figs, this is going to be Solomon Grundy's Highway Hearse Heist. My thought process behind this set is I really wanted a set with Solomon Grundy, and I felt as though he was justified to be the main villain of this set. For the hearse itself, I'm thinking something similar to the Monster Fighters hearse. Structurally, it would have the ceiling of the hearse like completely removed, and Solomon Grundy is sitting in the bed of the hearse, kind of sitting on the coffin, using it as a chair so that he can drive the hearse from the trunk bed via the extended like steering wheel and gear shift, similar to what's seen in the Killer Croc's Tailgater set, which is one of my favorite Lego Batman movie sets. So the idea of a big fig driving a regular figure's car is hilarious to me. And of course, Solomon Grundy, I would say, is like an S-tier character. He's probably in most people's top 10 for like Lego DC, Lego Batman characters that they'd like to see, and for me, he's definitely up there too. To go with Solomon Grundy, I decided 2 villains was probably the wisest choice, and my choices were Lord Deathman, who I spoke about in the last video fairly extensively, so I won't really get into it, and Ratcatcher, who is another character I said is a very underrated Batman villain. I would really like to see him in there. I think Lord Deathman really fits the Halloween vibe, and if we were to stick hard to the Halloween vibe, it would probably be better to pair him with, like, Scarecrow or the Spook or Phantasm, you know, but Ratcatcher was my choice just because I really want to see Ratcatcher in a Lego Batman set. It'd probably be around the same price, if not a little more, than your average modern Lego Batmobile. $70 to $80 to $90 or something. Just, it's kind of hard to tell given the big fig would be included. And maybe they'd include also like a little motorcycle for Batman or something. But at that price point, I think 5 figures is the logical amount, including Solomon Grundy himself. So for heroes to go with our villains, we'd have Batman and Black Bat or Cassandra Cain. And from this perspective, in my opinion, I think that this set would be very popular among kids. I know when I was a kid, this sort of thing would be like at the top of my Christmas list. Just because we have like a large zombie man and a skeleton guy and a cool ninja girl, and then you have Batman and Ratcatcher in there, and I know Ratcatcher might not grab a lot of children, but I think every other kid would grab their attention even if they don't know them from the comics. I just think it's a fun idea, and this is one of the sets that I think I am most happy with conceptually. Number 12 is the UCS Arkham Knight Batmobile. This is probably my least original idea. I think most people have had basically the exact same request from LEGO. The fans demand, the fans want a Batmobile similar to what they did with the Tumbler and the '89 Batmobile. I feel like the Batman Forever Batmobile, it's just like a weird in-between size of like a play scale and a UCS set, and I don't think that would be a great choice. I think the only real pushback is conceptually maybe it's a little too militaristic, but I think that's invalid just because it's a fictional vehicle. For figures, the choices are fairly obvious: Batman, Scarecrow, and the Arkham Knight himself. I would say Joker, but these sets usually have like 2 to 3 figures. Yeah. And there's not much else to say because, of course, this would just be a fairly accurately rendered LEGO Batmobile at a large scale. This next set concept is the Blue Beetle tank versus Doomsday. When I'm thinking the Blue Beetle here, I'm thinking Ted Kord, because when I think of Ted Kord, I think more gadgets and like tech. Well, when I think of the modern Blue Beetle, obviously, he's more like true superpowers. He's got integrated tech. I don't know how accurate that is, but I thought it would be kind of fun to give Blue Beetle like a big beetle-shaped tank. The side panels could kind of open up to show you a little lab inside where it could be preparing some stuff. I do really want to see Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle, in a set. I do want to see another version of the modern Jamie Reyes Blue Beetle. I think that's how you say the name. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Jamie Reyes. And, of course, as is in the name, Doomsday would be the main villain, and I would want to see Doomsday as a big fig. Alternatively, this could be Darkseid or Mongol or just any number of random villains, right? This doesn't have to be Doomsday, but because I have no idea what vehicle there would be, because Doomsday wouldn't ride a vehicle, right? So the main point of this set is the tank, the beetle-shaped tank with a little lab in the back. And then other than that, it's just like going to be Blue Beetle and some other heroes trying to fight Doomsday. The other heroes I was thinking is like Booster Gold, and he would come with Skeet, you know, like his little robot sidekick. I just think he goes well with Blue Beetle. And then Red Tornado was another one. Realistically, I think they would throw in somebody like Batman or Superman, but I would much prefer if they did Shazam, another version of Shazam, and Black Adam, because we didn't get Black Adam. We never got Black Adam. I know Black Adam wouldn't be teaming up with Doomsday. I know that's kind of silly, but it's Lego. It's a toy, and sometimes you just gotta have fun, and giving the villains an extra villain would be fun. Maybe that's too many figures for a set of this scale. This set would probably be like close to $100 maybe, but I think could be a pretty fun thing for the Lego designers to make and for kids to play with. Concept number 10 is the Teen Titans jet from like the Teen Titans TV show. I mentioned the Teen Titans and how there's a lot of nostalgia for them in the previous video. I can't remember. I don't think the T-Jet actually was in the show, but I mean, it was one of the original vehicles for the Teen Titans way back when. Obviously, the figures are what people would really be after. Obviously, they could throw them in a Batman set or something like they did previously with Starfire and Beast Boy, but I'm trying to think of something more specific to the Teen Titans. I guess maybe they could have a little turret for Deathstroke, like he's trying to shoot the jet out of the air. For the characters, it would be the main Teen Titans, so Robin, Starfire, Cyborg, Raven, and Beast Boy. And then for villains, Deathstroke, and I would like to see Blackfire, like I said previously, although other characters like Dr. Light and Gizmo, they're also viable. Alternatively, they could split this into like 2 sets, probably, the number of figures. So they could do like a Deathstroke Jeep or whatever with some figures, and then like the Titan Jet. But I'm thinking just as 1 set. The only major play features would be like spring-loaded shooters and stud shooters and stuff like that. But other than that, I can't really think of any great play features. If you have any good ideas, tell me in the comments, please. Set concept number 9 is kind of like a split between 2 set ideas. The reason why I split it is because these are both Clayface related ideas. The first one isn't so much to do with specifically Clayface, but I thought it fit him well, and that is the Bat Transport Prisoner Breakout. The idea here is Batman has a prisoner transport, and I felt like Clayface was the type of villain who's justified to be held in a special confinement that Batman would have. The idea here is I'm thinking something similar to the Space Police 3 set, maybe adding a little turret or like net launcher or something, and maybe a little bit larger of a cell, but still definitely it has to be possible for the cell to like have its door broken open. And for like the figures, the main concept is it would be Batman and Clayface, of course, probably Robin too. And then the villains, I was thinking something like Music Meister, and then Music Meister would have a couple of goons with him, so like Punchline or Maxi Zeus or Copperhead or somebody. Or alternatively, it could be the Terrible Trio, trying to break Clayface out. And maybe they each get a vehicle, like a land, air, and sea-based vehicle. Tiny little jet ski, little glider, and a little motorcycle or something. Or for Music Meister, he could get a music note-shaped motorcycle. I think that would be really cool. And the other set idea is the Clayface family reunion. It's sort of my take on this set concept by a channel called Mycopath. It's called I Made a Lego Batman Reboot Wave. It's basically a way higher quality version of what I'm doing here, and I highly encourage you to check out his video. I'll have it linked at the end of this video and in the description. His concept was the Clayface Mixer Mix-Up, and my take on it is, instead of doing a mixer truck, I thought it'd be neat if it was sort of like a tow truck, but instead of a hook, Clayface has a big wrecking ball on the end of it, so it's still a vehicle that is Clayface, and it has his face at the front of it, so Clayface is driving himself, basically. But the wrecking ball I felt like was more Clayface. And the reason I called it Clayface's Family Reunions, I thought it'd be cool if it came with like Lady Clayface and like Preston Payne or something. The 8th set concept is called Lex Luthor's Mecha Marathon, and the concept here is it's a Lex Luthor mech. There have been 2 Lex Luthor mechs before this. I love the original Lex Luthor mech. I think it's really nice for like the size and price that it was. The second Lex Luthor mech I don't like as much. I think it had great figures for sure. The weird it didn't come with Superman. But for this mech, I'm thinking something more along the lines of the Dr. Inferno mech from the LEGO Agents 2.0 wave. I think that's probably one of the greatest mechs LEGO's ever designed, and it would be really cool to see like a good large-scale Lex Luthor mech. Alternatively, to scale it down, they could mimic stuff from like Exoforce, which also had great mech design. I think the weapons from the mech should be similar to the very first Lex Luthor mech. And for figures, I have 7. Logically, this set would probably only include 5 or 6 figures. The first 2 figures and most essential are Lex Luthor and Superman. But to go with Lex Luthor, a couple extra villains could be Metallo, Amazo, and Mercy Graves. Mercy Graves is Lex Luthor's assistant. Metallo is a cyborg that Lex Luthor had made. And Amazo is an android who was also made by LexCorp and siphons superpowers. Initially, I didn't like the original design of Amazo, but the stupid, like, elf look has kind of grown on me, and if you have, like, the semi-bionic looking elf guy, it's like perfect. It's so funny. And to assist Superman, because I think he needs some help, I would choose Power Girl and Captain Atom. as my primary choices. I suppose a Major Force could also be an option, as well as Wonder Woman, who is in both of the original Lex Luthor mechs. But I think Power Girl is probably like an A or S tier character for most people. Captain Atom might not be as high a pick for most people, but for me, he's close to S tier, A tier. I just think it would be really cool to get them, and I think they'd fit in well with the Lex Luthor mech concept. Number 7 is a set concept that I think is pretty fun. It's called the Mothwing, and the concept behind the Mothwing is much like Batman has his Batwing, Killer Moth gets the Mothwing, a jet shaped like a moth, shaped like his logo. Now, the premise behind this set isn't just Killer Moth is flying a jet. It's Killer Moth, being a moth, is attracted to light. And so he's trying to steal the bat signal. So he'd have some sort of hook, and you'd have a little build for the bat signal, and he's trying to steal that. I think that could be really fun. The primary figures for this set would be, of course, Killer Moth and Batman. To assist Batman, I think it would be cool to include possibly Spoiler or Nightwing. And to assist Killer Moth, a S-tier character that many people have demanded, as I said in the previous video, is the Ventriloquist and Scarface, and I think that would be a fun inclusion, as well as Firefly, who I always feel goes well with Killer Moth. He would need a jetpack, of course. Another character I thought up for this set would be Signal Man, just because of the bat signal, though he's kind of a dumb character, and he's definitely not necessary. I think characters like Nightwing and the Ventriloquist and Firefly and Killer Moth would sell this set. A selection of probably like 5 figures would be logical, I would imagine, for a Mothwing. But I just thought this was a fun concept. Set concept number 6 is Aquaman Atlantis Throne Room Raid. The concept is essentially similar to another LEGO Agent set, yet again. The set known as Deep Sea Quest. There is a ship, a villain ship, on the surface of the water. This boat could be piloted by Black Jack, who is one of Aquaman's original villains from back in the golden age of comics. Alternatively, or additionally, they could include Black Manta. And I love the Black Manta mold that LEGO did originally. I think it is one of the best designs LEGO's ever done for a head mold. I would love to see a Batman the Brave and the Bold style Black Manta with the like purple torso in the mix. But to give whoever is piloting the boat some assistance, I would include a Big Fig version of King Shark, who I think is a fairly desirable figure due to his appearance in the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie. Additionally, I would include a submarine for Batman, much like, again, Deep Sea Quest, there is a hero submarine. And of course, to go with the Bat submarine, we would need a scuba diving Batman, as well as an Aquaman figure. And I think it would be really cool to round out the whole collection with Aqualad, a character who's got like a fairly interesting design and has never appeared in LEGO before. And the surface build at the like depths of the water would be, of course, the throne, which could have some typical like Atlantis-style architecture that's all crumbled up. And then, of course, a throne and a treasure chest. And that's what the villains are really after. They're trying to go down there and get that treasure chest. If they make the typical, like, villain boat based off one of those floating hulls, it could be cool. Although that plus a Big Fig could boost the price of the set significantly. Set concept number 5 is called the Fortress of Solitude Break-In. This concept is very much based off of a really cool mock that I saw, and I'm going to be showing that in the background. I think that this could be a really cool, like, facade set where the outside of it is, like, you know, like the spikes for the Fortress of Solitude and the door, and it's very simple. But then the inside are these cool layers with these details and the various types of kryptonite, and maybe there could be, like, a jail cell for the villains. The computer and, like, the chamber for him to bathe in the sun. And for the figures, obviously, the first one is Superman. And I do want to say, conceptually, this is, like, not based off of any movie or anything, although if they made this based off the movies, I wouldn't complain. The next 2 figures would be included, probably, in a actual official Superman 2025 set, and that is Supergirl and Krypto, the super dog, though I would prefer to see a Supergirl sort of reminiscent of her appearance in Justice League Unlimited. We've gotten, so far, we've really only gotten one version of Supergirl with a hair redesign, as well as a very expensive Comic-Con exclusive. And then the last hero figure would be Steel. I think it would be really cool to get Steel. I remember, I believe it was Shaquille O'Neal played Steel. But of course, this is the Superman set. It's like all about Superman. So I think the perfect villain to be breaking into the Fortress of Solitude is Bizarro, or possibly Cyborg Superman, or both. Alternatively, if it was to be something other than like reverse Superman, I think it could be cool to get the Ultra Humanite, who was Superman's first ever villain. And when I say first ever villain, I mean like traditional antagonist. I guess he had mobsters before the Ultra Humanite. And the original Ultra Humanite was just like a mad scientist, like evil scientist, crime lord guy. I don't know. And he later on became this albino gorilla with a super genius brain. But I think the modern version of the Ultra Humanite is very striking in design. And it would be cool to get him as a big fig. Set concept number 4 is called the Two-Face Blimp Battle. This set is based around the concept of Two-Face hijacking one of the GCPD blimps that you see in the sky in Batman the Animated Series. Of course, the one half would be the traditional blimp, and then the other half would be all graffitied and rusty to kind of go with that Two-Face aesthetic. As well, I think it could be really cool if this set could be like reversible and people could buy a second one and then have a full GCPD blimp. I don't know how well that would work. I don't know how easy that would be, but I think that would be really cool and that would cause a lot of extra sales. Overall, I think this set would be, you know, mainly like a Two-Face base that is a vehicle. So you'd probably be able to see inside the actual blimp itself where Two-Face is planning something. And this would serve as like for a Lego Batman wave. This would be the big villain vehicle. This would be the villain headquarters, essentially. For heroes, my concept is it would be Batman, of course, and then possibly Jim Gordon or Oracle. One or the other are being held hostage by the villains, and the other one is there to help. So we get Jim Gordon and Oracle. We can also get an extra hero for a helping hand. Somebody like Robin or Batwing or, yet again, Nightwing. I think Red Robin would be an interesting inclusion. And for villains to go with, of course, Two-Face. Onomatopoeia, a really fun villain. I mentioned him in the previous video. He speaks in onomatopoeias, and he would be definitely my top pick to go with Two-Face. Some other options for villains that could go with Two-Face are Prometheus and Equinox, who I mentioned in the previous video, as well as Great White Shark, who is a mobster type character, and Dr. No-Face, who is just a very funny, interesting looking one-off Batman villain. Set concept number 3 is the Invisible Jet versus Shang Tzu, and I just think it would be really cool to get a full-scale, like, dedicated invisible jet for Wonder Woman around the same price that you might get a Batmobile at. It would be, of course, made up of many different transparent pieces, and I think that would cause it to sell very well, as well as white and light gray pieces to create sort of an outline image. That outline would help to distinguish the look, so it's not just a big transparent blob. And the other build for this set would be Shang Tzu himself, the evil genius egg. I think he's really funny. I learned about him from Lego DC Supervillains, and I thought it would be fun to include him in one of these sets, and he felt perfect for this because he is a Wonder Woman villain. And then for the actual minifigures, this set would include, of course, Wonder Woman, as well as Vixen, who I think would be a fun hero to help Wonder Woman. Alternatively, they could do Miss Martian or something. I wanted this set to be primarily made up of female characters, just to go with Wonder Woman. And the villain I chose was Silver Swan, who is another Wonder Woman antagonist created by Dr. Psycho, who is a character they could include as well. I know I just said I was mainly aiming for female villains, but, you know, it is what it is. The second and last set concept for this list is Mad Hatter's Twisted Tea Party Plot. The set would be a fairly small one, maybe around the price of your average modern battle pack. It would come with, of course, a tea party and some tables and some tea stuff, but the main bulk of the build would be a small Mad Hatter themed, green jalopy. The star of the show is, of course, the Mad Hatter minifigure that we've been waiting for. I hope that they finally make a Lego Mad Hatter figure. Other characters to include are, of course, Batman as the main hero, and I think he's really the only hero necessary. And then some villains to go with Mad Hatter are Tweedledee and Tweedledum, two fairy tale villains and good henchmen to go with Mad Hatter, and White Rabbit, who I was informed in the previous video is not directly connected to Mad Hatter, but they do share a lot of the same gimmicks, and of course, Mad Hatter down the rabbit hole, they go well together. Alternative options are characters like Cheshire, the Cavalier, and Black Mask. Just some random names to throw out there, but this set is kind of a figure pack, so I might as well throw those names in there. I also considered the concept of this set to be a sort of luxury car for Mad Hatter, and the engine would pop to reveal a tea table instead of the actual engine itself, and so it's kind of like a mobile tea party. Something crazy like that. I thought that was really fun, but I also felt like this list needed another cheaper set, and this one kind of fit in well. And set concept number 1, finally here. If you made it this far, once again, thank you for watching the video. The Modular Hall of Justice. So the concept is, of course, this would be a massive Hall of Justice built as a modular building, similar to how Marvel has gotten a lot of detailed modular buildings, and we just got the Arkham Asylum set, which is awesome. This would be for the Hall of Justice. This would act as like half a base for the Justice League and half a museum for the Justice League, because the Watchtower is their real base. In Lego form, I can't see them making a Watchtower at a play scale. It just seems near impossible. This will have to do. Of course, the front area of the Hall of Justice is what most people know. It's what most people have seen before. I would argue this should be on 2 32 by 32 base plates, which I believe is the size that the modular buildings use. One of the difficulties, I think, would be the water feature. I think they might have to remove that just to allow for the sidewalk. It's a modular building, so they would include and incorporate a sidewalk, most likely. They could choose not to, but I think it would look better if they still incorporated that sidewalk. I think that the water feature could still be in the build, but it would have to be like a side build. It wouldn't be attached to the building, sadly. I guess mock creators or modular modifiers could incorporate the water feature. And continuing on with outside details, the sides and rear of the Hall of Justice typically aren't shown. So to get a little creative with it and to create a little fun detail, I think a cool thing that they could do is do a wraparound mural. Kind of detailing heroes, detailing old Lego superhero sets and stuff. It would be pretty neat if they could do that. To add some depth and texture to the outside of the building, I think it would be wise to include some statues on the rear and side walls. And who would these statues be of? I say they should be of the Justice Society of America members. So 2 statues on the left, 2 statues on the right, and 3 statues on the rear would give us 7 statues. J. Garrick Flash, Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, Sandman, Dr. Fate, and Hourman, and then finally Dr. Midnight and Hawkman. And of course, with the statues, I think it would only be right that we get actual minifigures for the Justice Society characters based off of their like old school appearances, and some of them do appear in modern comics like Hawkman and Dr. Fate. As well, for interior details, there would be a main foyer area, and then steps going up to 2 elevated areas on either side, along with doors on either side of those stairs to the lower areas. And this foyer wouldn't be as super detailed as the rest of the area, but maybe near the back there could be 3 banners, one for Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman's logos. And then to, let's say, the left staircase, you go up it, and that is where you will find the round table, the meeting table, with all 8 chairs there so that the members of the Justice League can gather around and discuss what they're going to discuss. You could have the supercomputer there as well, with for Martian Manhunter to be sitting. And beneath this, accessible from the door that's on either side of the staircase, would be the training area, where you could have a boxing ring and a weight rack for Superman and a treadmill for the Flash, and maybe a little break area so there could be a couch and some little details like Martian Manhunter's Chacos and a dartboard for somebody like Green Arrow. On the opposing side, there would be on the staircase a sort of museum or trophy room where you could see all sorts of memorabilia of the heroes and the villains. There could be a MIDI scale, like super tiny built version of the Watchtower. That would be fun. Some of Batman's gadgets, some of Green Arrow's arsenal, Green Lantern, as well maybe a photo of the Justice League's first appearance fighting Starro, and other villain memorabilia, other villain details, like a locked up version of Mirror Master's mirror gun and the Phantom Zone gun and all those sorts of things. Maybe a locked up piece of kryptonite, a Joker playing card. There's all sorts of fun details you could throw into a set like this. And then beneath that would be a laboratory for people like Mr. Terrific and the Atom to be doing research. So that does it for the main, like what I've thought of for the actual set itself. getting into the figures along with the Justice Society members, who I've already mentioned. For Justice League members, of course, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the original 3, as well as Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, Flash, Hawkgirl, the 3 Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, and Guy Gardner, Cyborg, Wildcat, Mr. Terrific, The Question, the Atom, and for the Atom, I think it would be really cool if we got the minifigure and then also a nano figure, similar to what they do with Ant-Man. Green Arrow, Black Canary, Fire, Ice, Elongated Man, and Vibe, and you might be thinking, like, that's a lot of characters, you know? Yeah. This is going to be me pitching a lot of characters. I don't think LEGO should skimp on figures. I think this set should definitely set records for how many figures it has. It's fun to pitch. It's fun to suggest. Characters like Vibe and Elongated Man are definitely more obscure heroes, but I feel like this is the only type of set where we get them. And then for some villains to go with the Justice League, because it could be cool to have some villains. Some of them could be in lockup in the lab. Some of them could be trying to do a breakout or something like that. And the top 2 are, of course, Lex Luthor and Joker, but I think it would be cool if we got a version of Lex Luthor based off his appearance in All-Star Superman, and a version of Joker based off of his appearance not that long ago in Dawn of DC. They called it his Clown Prince of Crime costume. I never actually read the comic, but I thought it had a very striking visual appearance. I thought Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal sort of looking Joker. Normal villains, we have Mercy Graves to go with Lex Luthor, Brainiac, we have Sinestro, Star Sapphire, and Atrocitus, of course, with his most loyal companion, Dex-Star the Cat. And those lanterns would oppose the 3 Green Lanterns that we have. Cheetah, Reverse Flash, who, by the way, is like $100 on the aftermarket now. I'm so glad I bought him when he was on store shelves. Plastique, Psycho Pirate, Silver Banshee, Merlin, and Despero, who is a little bit more obscure, a DC villain, but I love him. I actually really love his look. I don't think he needs to be a big fig. I would like if he was a big fig, but I don't think that's absolutely necessary. And then the last characters I have to list are 7 extra characters who I think LEGO would never include in any other set. So I figured this is the only opportunity. And the first one is John Constantine. And the reason John Constantine wouldn't appear in a set is because he's commonly seen drinking and smoking. He would be a bad influence on kids, much like how they don't want to do Punisher and stuff like that. So I think, much like how the Daily Bugle ended up having the Punisher, a set like this, which would be extremely expensive, could justify having John Constantine. Of course, he wouldn't be smoking or drinking, but we'd at least have him. And a cool feature they could throw in is maybe like one of the walls or one of the towers or something could have a wall that spins around and it reveals a portal that John Constantine is coming from. That could be a fun little feature. And then the next controversial characters are Peacemaker and Vigilante. Of course, from that Peacemaker TV series, rather violent characters, not something LEGO would usually associate with. Manchester Black, who is a Superman villain. I just don't think LEGO would do him. Once again, the smoking would be a big thing. The Creeper is a superhero that is very strange, very weird, has a very weird story to him. Kind of dark at times, and I think he could be fun to include. Bouncing Boy is a character who I think would be neat. I think, of course, I would love to get him as a minifigure, but more importantly, I would love to get him as one of those ball figures like they did in that Harry Potter set that came out a little while ago. And last is going to be Ambush Bug, a character I mentioned in the previous video yet again. He's sort of like the Deadpool of DC, except not as cool. So that wraps up the top 15 list. Thank you for watching. As I promised before, I am going to do 2 brief segments after this, but I do want to say, if you're just here for the list, it's over. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day. Don't forget to leave a comment talking about the types of sets and characters and other such things you'd like to see LEGO make in the future. Feel free to talk about anything, Star Wars, Marvel, even like non-licensed themes. Also, if you would like to see me continue this and do part 2, you can leave a comment. I won't do it right away at all. If you guys want me to do a part 2, I'll do like another 10 DC set ideas or whatever, and then I'll talk about the set ideas you guys had in the comments. I think that could be really cool. I'd probably get it out before the end of the year. That's all I can really promise. So the first of the 2 subjects that I wanted to talk about at the very end of this video was, like I said before, about these smaller sets and these smaller ideas. I think LEGO should really bring back smaller sets. I'm pitching these as a concept I call Nemesis sets, where it's a hero and a villain and a small build. and the idea is they would try to target it to be around $20. These are not 4+ sets, these are play sets for your average LEGO demographic. But the idea would be not only allow children and lower income families and such to get into LEGO, also just make good Christmas gifts and stuff. These should be released in August, in my opinion. It's going to be most of the play sets come out in the second half of the year, and that's because of Christmas. So August, they get them out so that every store can realistically have these sets on shelves when Christmas and other holidays roll around. As well, for like fans, if they release like 3 at a time, these could be like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, it's only $20, and so they go out and they spend $60+ to get all 3 of them. Right? My ideas on top of the Metropolis Meltdown were called Killer Croc Sewer Escape, where Killer Croc has a little jet ski and he's stolen a little bank vault. And so it's Batman and Killer Croc. And Mirror Master's Museum Heist, where the idea is it's a little swivel that Mirror Master, so there's a mirror and then it spins around, and now Mirror Master's here. And he's trying to steal a diamond, and Flash is trying to stop him. Then we have the Themyscira Throwdown, which is Wonder Woman versus Cersei, with like some ancient Greek architectural background, an area that maybe they could get thrown into and like a pillar crumbles. You do Batgirl versus Bane, or Robin versus the Riddler, or and then the last thing I wanted to talk about was just a minifigure wave, because I think LEGO should do another DC minifigure wave. I also believe that waves like this that are like rare, you know? They don't do a DC wave every year, they don't do a Marvel wave every year. When they do them, I think that they should get a full roster of like 16 or 20 characters. That's why I'm going to list 20 here. Well, the normal wave's been brought down to 12, and that's logical because they come out like twice a year. So for this minifigure wave, the first 2 characters are first issue Superman and Mr. Mxyzptlk. They don't obviously go directly together, but Mr. Mxyzptlk is a Superman villain, and first issue Superman would be a really cool character to get. Then the next 2 are Absolute Batman and the Joker in a 2019 Joker Joaquin Phoenix style costume. Obviously, he would still just be a LEGO cartoon Joker, but he would have like a red suit. And of course, Absolute Batman, I think this would sell extremely well. Absolute Batman has been really big with people lately. And then representing the last of the main 3 is going to be the 1990s style Wonder Woman with her weird punk jacket. I don't know what they're thinking here, but that's what they did, and I think it's memorable. It stands out. And then her villain is going to be Ares, the god of war. I think he'd be really cool. For some lanterns, we have Kyle Rayner and Larfleeze. I don't know anything about Kyle Rayner. And then Larfleeze is the Orange Lantern of Greed. Artemis, the female Green Arrow from Young Justice. And Sportsmaster, who I believe is a Green Arrow enemy. Amanda Waller, who I know is just a person, just a lady, but I think she'd be interesting to include, especially given the next character, Bloodsport, would go well with her. And then Atom Smasher and Giganta, who are both the giant expansion characters, and I think would be really cool to include. I remember seeing them in the background just duking it out in Injustice. Couple heroes could be Bulleteer and Black Lightning. Black Lightning's another one that we got in a Comic-Con exclusive figure, who is unbelievably expensive now, and it would be really cool to get Black Lightning. And Bulleteer, I just thought looked really cool. The second I saw her, I was like, yeah, she's going in. And then the last 4 are Parasite, a villain who siphons superheroes' powers. Savitar, a Flash-type character running a Speed Force sort of cult. Composite Superman, I think this one would get a lot of attention. A half Superman, half Batman. And Eclipso, sort of an apocalyptic villain. And that does it for this video. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.